to the SPL Rundown, your weekly look at the Smite Pro League. I'm your host, Apam, with our three wonderful analysts, Lermy Wormy, Frost, and Rathan. Stick around for a little later for my interview with Nilma, but first, let's get right into week one with the first game of the weekend, Ghost vs. Obey. And this one, we got to see a sub in Stewart, and Ghost probably feeling pretty good after winning the Phase 1 playoffs. What are you guys' first thoughts on this game?
I gave enough of my thoughts on Twitter, and I got ripped for it. But
well, reiterate them here. See if we rip you or not.
Summarize those thoughts again. Real quick.
Yeah, well, that's the talking point now.
Here was my point.
All right.
At the time of my tweet, we had seen one game in the set already. We saw things not go well, and we saw them first pick a god who I now understand is at the top of the physical hunter stats. But for the 4 weeks prior, all I had heard anybody complain about was Hecate Typhon's abusing gods.
Hold on.
So when you
Before
leave
you
a
go
Hecate,
any further, what was your tweet about?
What was the tweet?
Oh, God.
I will find it myself.
That Stewart needs to take his god puddle back to the SCC.
I remember
now,
that. Okay, that makes his stream title make a lot more sense, because the next day he streamed saying expanding my god puddle.
Yes, I retweeted him. I gave him a shout out in my Discord. I subbed and I apologized.
I love Stewart.
Because I did feel bad.
You apologized. What a weenie.
I know. Well, I mean, at the time of my tweet, the information that I had was that during the entire phase 2 of the SCC, he played 2 gods. He only played the second god, Ho Yi, when the first one was banned out, which was Ullr. And then he picked it over Freya, who, from everybody that I had talked to, the only thing that ever appeared on Twitter about anything being strong at all was Hecate Typhon's abusers, of which Freya is the greatest of those.
Yes, sir.
Right? So when that god is up and you don't pick it in favor of the one god the guy plays, I made that tweet. I got called out for it. People said Ullr's better than I thought it was. Ullr wins the matchup. And I mean, I kind of still wanted to argue and be like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Pick pressure for the guy who's subbing in and play through his lane, because you have no idea what to expect out of him. That's a great idea. So I wanted to argue, but I took my lumps. I admitted probably a lot more going on there than I thought. And then they got crapped on anyway. So I don't know. It was a funny tweet at the time, but
see, I'm kind of with you there. I understand the matchup. Ull, historically, whenever Freya has been a problem, Ull is like the Freya Slayer. He's the only one that can actually put her down. That axe being up all the time is always going to be a big threat to her. But when Freya is in the meta, one of two things happens. She gets to late game and completely destroys you, or she gets stomped out between like early to mid. I don't know if the attempt to try and, one, keep Stewart comfortable and to try and put Freya down in a meta that is not revolving around ADCs, I don't know if that made enough sense to go with the first pick, Ull. Even if you're anticipating a Freya, it's better to have the Freya or not have her, or have like a comp that centers around the mid 3 that can do something to Freya, and not leave it to like, okay, rookie game, congrats, you're about to try and put down a Freya.
In the meta. Oh, go ahead, Larry. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm kind of in the same boat as someone with a lot of familiarity with the SCC and especially the NA SCC. Stewart is very consistent. He doesn't really stand out very much, but he never really has an especially bad performance. He will always be in fights doing damage, but he's not a cyclone spin. You know, he's not at the very tippity top. And I think, you know, it's kind of on both ends of the spectrum where, like, yeah, you don't have to put the pressure there, but at the same time, I mean, I don't really know what's going on with Obey's draft overall, because at least in general, I hate a lot of it. A lot of it is just coming out of seemingly nowhere for me. Like, what is this Ymir pick? I'm not a fan of it. Please put it in the dumpster, bring it back to picks and bans to try again, honestly, because I don't know, a lot of what is in the meta right now is so good against Ymir, and he just gets stuck, he gets slowed out, he gets caught out, and I mean, you picked Ymir into Yamoja, and like, I don't know what you can do about that, man. You just get stuck, get pushed around and beat up, and I mean, okay, of course, it's not like the only issue that Obey had, but that's like a big, really simple, easy, quick fix. Just pick almost literally anything else.
Another thing I want to bring up is, we didn't see any Golden Blade gods for Sino, and we'll talk maybe more about his warrior selection in the next set that happened this weekend for Obey. But do you see that, Sino is, not using Golden Blade? That's kind of unexpected as far as I was concerned. I thought he would probably try to take advantage of that item in this set.
Oh, if I could understand Sino, that would be. Because I'm not there to dog on him. It's just, and I'm also not one to just jump to criticize him, but I don't understand. We'll start there. I am attempting to understand you, Sino. Yeah, love Nike. I get that. I understand when she was big, but now Sunder exists. Okay, so maybe the ultimate health is not the thing. As long as you can jump in, get the kid off, and murder some people, it's justified. But even that wasn't happening.
The Sunder looked really, really good into Nike. It looked just like instantly you kill the Nike as soon as she ults.
What? We talked about that last time, didn't we? I'm pretty sure I said I don't expect any more Nike. So long as Sunder exists in the way that it does, there's no way we see another Nike. I don't know if Sino heard and he's doing it to spite me. I'm not sure where that pick came from.
Yeah.
Alongside with the draft, as Lermy said, because you got Bobby picking Ymir after they've already locked in on the other team, Yamoja, and Oleron, Ohoyi. I think the Nemesis came through as well.
I think he came through in one of the
On top
drafts.
of that, all of them, every single one of them countered Ymir.
Every last one of them. Any meta with a Hoi, Ymir's not going to do well. Any meta with a Nemesis, it's his biggest counter. Oleron, Yamoja. I understand PBM pulled out Ymir against the Yamoja, but that was super niche. He's never been one of those, we're gonna be able to whip him out all the time. You have to have something specific you're trying to counter.
What do you guys think about Ducky pulling out two mages in the solo lane back to back? First the Afro and then the Nox.
I thought the Afro was incredibly underwhelming, and I think the Nox is a cool pick. Like, I've seen him do extremely well on it. I've been over at their house when I don't know if they were scrimming or something was going on, but they were all playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen him absolutely raffle stomp with that god, and just totally shut down team fights. And Nox could. The neat thing about Nox is she could do 0 damage, and she has like one of the highest lockdown and utility out of any mage or any character, really. If you think about it, right? Like, if you nail the ult in the middle of a team fight when it's popping off, you could have 0 power, and you are going to turn the fight for your team.
Sure.
You land a silence on a frontliner, or you land a silence on somebody who's diving your backline in a root, and it's over, right? Like, they're dead. I've seen it work. Do I think it's better than all of the other things that people are playing? No, but you got to give them a little credit too, because it's like they're up against Ghost. They're heavily not favored at all to win, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
So I gave him a little bit of credit, and I said, hey, you know what? Like, that's the set to like try shit out, right? Like, or stuff out. Sorry,
sure.
I'll bleep myself next time. But that's the set to try stuff out, right? Because 99 times out of 100, like, you're not going to win. You got a sub in. You got somebody you haven't played with very much. You're trying to draft around that, and you know what? You might as well see if you can execute on this. Because realistically, you're probably going to lose anyway.
I've seen a lot of the Ducky Nox raked, so I was excited to see him pull it out of the SPL.
Yeah, I saw your coaching video with him as well, Rathan. He's definitely got the mind for it and the strats for it. I think
he does, and and he was even memeing when we were playing. And some of the shots that he hit with her one, where he like blind fired like a 270-degree whip around to like root somebody into somebody else's damage. I was like, gee, like, you could play this god. But I have heard rumors that since this new rank split has started, he has single-handedly dragged her win rate at diamond or above down into the 30% range.
That's the thing with Nox. It is such a high execution character that if you're playing it, you need to play it perfectly, or it does literally nothing. And that's kind of the big question mark there is, if it works, it's awesome, but if it doesn't work, it really doesn't work. You just get absolutely raffle stomped. And that's, like you said, it was a good time to try it. And me, personally, I'm kind of known as like the biggest Nox stan when you're trying to throw her in Conquest in any role but mid. I want her in the jungle, honestly, and that's just my crazy, out-of-the-box theory crafting opinion. But, throw a character into the mids that can lock someone down, let literally anyone else kill them, and just pop beads constantly. I think it could be good. It kind of does a lot of what other junglers do, but when it comes to the late game, I mean, I'm going off on my soapbox now, but I don't know. I think she has potential. I think it's there. It's just all about the execution. If they can't do it, I mean, we've seen it before. Dardus has played Nox, and Mogao has played Nox in the SEC as well.
Pretty prime.
It's all over.
Back in the day. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I am a huge proponent of Nox support. You said you have to play Nox to perfection, but that is one of those. So long as they don't take the Titan too soon, all I need is one fight. One fight where I lock you down and it's over.
The Dardus special?
I want to say Dardus, but it's also whenever I used to play ranked, I'd end up with Barra in my lane usually. And I'm like, I know what you like, Barra. I got you right now. You hate Deb, I got something even better for you, man. And he's like, you have no peel. It's okay. You have no survivability. What do you mean? I'll jump inside you, then I can't get hurt, and I'll jump out when I got the combo. He was Artemis, and we had insane lockdown. We actually won those games, but he hates it. It's
the Gentle Slayer special. If NA ranked players run into him, he literally only plays Nox in any role. It's just Nox. He has I don't know, 20 stars on that character or something insane, and he just plays ranked Conquest. He only plays Nox.
All right. Any final thoughts about Ghost vs. Obey?
Yeah, I'm with Raythan.
Frost. You first.
As it goes. Just to sort of piggyback on what you said, they were going against Ghost. It's one of those matches, you're not sandbagging it, but you don't really have that much a chance. You might as well try and experiment and go, you know what, we didn't get stomped out as bad as we thought we were going to. It might actually work. It also did not work in Ducky's favor. But he kind of got countered by Fine. I always said in the classic, season 2 meta, when we had more variety in solo lane, mages come in, bully some guardians out, maybe a few warriors, but then assassins, it's like an odd rock paper scissors thing. I don't really think he stood a chance once that Thor was last picked into his Nox.
Sure. All right. Radiance came into phase 2 being the finalists in the phase 1 playoffs, up against basically a new duo lane here with Snoopy and Gaijay. What did you guys think about the Snoopy Gaijay debut, and how do you think Snoopy did as support?
I mean, Frost literally just made a video on this. Cthulhu support. No, get it out. If it's going to get played, it has to be solo. That's literally the only option for Cthulhu at this point, because the character does not peel. He literally is a dive bot, and that's it. I don't know, man. He doesn't have the pressure that you need in duo to put him there.
Dang, I wish you saved this Cthulhu take for the next section about SSG versus PK, because that was a big part of that set as well, with Neil picking Cthulhu twice and losing both games. Sorry for the spoilers,
wasn't this the set where Snoopy dies 6 times in the beginning of the game?
Oh, that was beautiful.
All right, so aside from the Snoopy debut, what do you guys think about the Gaijay debut? I guess that might be a more important and pertinent question to ask.
I think Gaijay did better as a new SPL player than Snoopy did as a new support. I thought, his execution was good. He hit his abilities. He played the way you're supposed to play, and I don't know, he had a couple of misplays. This is one of the sets I didn't get to watch the entire thing of, but what I did see was there was nothing there where you kind of throw your hands up in the air and you're like, oh, this guy doesn't belong here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I didn't really see too much of that. I thought they played well. I thought there were a couple opportunities where they might have gotten close.
They did steal game 1 off of a pretty good defense, tight defense by Scream and Heroin. But,
that was the Ghost Gaming set, right?
Oh, my bad. I'm confused.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
You're right. That is the Ghost Gaming set.
I remember the Radiant City United one as being like both games were like back and forth. Yeah, it's a 2-0, but both games were back and forth. I don't remember.
Sure.
Maybe I'm
the
thinking
the second game went to 43 minutes, so that's a pretty long game.
Yeah, signs of life, shaking the rust off. Guy J, probably learned some harsh lessons. I think Snoopy learned some harsh positioning lessons too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he got picked off at like 15 seconds in game 2, so that's just a rough one.
That was impressive.
What do you guys think?
That's a welcome to the support role, mother.
No, that's
right.
Has the worst dash in the game, and I will not take otherwise because his startup frames and his end frames are horrendously long.
They're very long.
This is the first set in which we really saw the magical ADCs and the Hecate abusers really come to the forefront. Even Cyclone soloing the FG in the first game. I mean, that was surprising to us. I was really surprised. I'm like, man, I hope this isn't another Metroid situation, like bug abuse type of thing. But it's just a good old-fashioned overpowered items, it looks like.
Yeah, I forget when it was. I think it was from BM Bobby or something on Twitter. He posted a clip of being Poseidon in like 22 minutes soloing the Fire Giant with Hecate. And I was like, someone's going to do this in the SPL. That was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that he posted this. It must have been from the PTS or something, but I don't know, man. When I saw that, I felt a sinking sensation in my stomach. I said, oh god, they're back. The magical ADCs have returned. And clearly, man, Cyclone Spin is as insane as ever. Mm-hmm. And he's just abusing everyone, honestly.
Yeah, I think Flareboot actually ended up doing the math, and it wasn't Hecate, because you only get the Hecate passive if you hit another god, right? The increased healing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Correct? Or am I lit? So he didn't actually get the increased healing on the Hecate. He was saying that it's actually Typhons.
It's definitely the Typhons.
It was the Typhons that was doing that. He could have had demonic Telekines or demonic Hasten, and he would have done the exact same thing instead of Hecate, because the Typhons has
lifesteal on it though, right?
It does.
It does. Yeah. But I mean, you could run like a Typhon's Bancrofts. Like it wouldn't. Flair's point was that the increased healing is what allowed Cyclone to do what he does, and that came off the Typhons, not the Hecate.
Yeah, I mean, even beyond that, though, the fact that it has lifesteal and there's just even more that you can do from it. Hecate is ridiculous in team fights as well, just beyond that. And so the fact that this item has all of that stuff in the passive, plus the extra lifesteal to benefit off of what people were already building, which was the double, triple lifesteal, whatever.
Yep.
It's insane.
Boy, it's like having lifesteal on Itch-Avail. There's a reason we don't.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, though, with, you got Stewart subbing in, but then Guy J's Premier.
Yeah.
Rookie games were never something to look forward to, at least in the history of Smite. Subbing in or first games were always super rough. And, Baskin was kind of the standout back then because he did have a good showing against very strong players. But now I'm a little confident in the rookies when they premiere. They don't do as terribly as I anticipate them doing. They can actually, somewhat hold their own. They're not a +1 factor. I don't think they're a win condition, but they tend to be zeros more often than, say, a -1 or we're going to completely stomp out through this hole that you have in your team now.
I'm getting flashbacks to season 6 Lasbra mid, by the way. Just SPL debut. I love Lasbra. I love him. He's like a brother, but I think that was the last rookie debut that we got that was really just not. I mean, that was just wrong place, wrong time, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But I'm in agreement with you, Ross.
Any final thoughts on this set, or should we move on to SSG versus PK?
Radiance United. No, the thing I was thinking of was Ghost United.
Yeah.
That was a different thing there. I think Radiance is cleaning up a bit.
Yeah.
From the playoffs, a few less mistakes. I did figured that the Neath was going to show up, not as a top priority pick or top band, but Big Man Tings just looks like the kind of mid laner to do his farming, sit around, and then, all right, guys, I got Neath ult. Who we want?
Sure.
He just seems like the type. And with Hakata, if they do bring it down, I think the Typhon still kind of keeps mages around. But
For sure.
I think we see more Hunter ADCs in the mix. I'm surprised we haven't seen a Chiron yet. Even Cupid came in before him. God dang it. It's my own bias, but still.
I'm telling
I called
you.
the Cupid last week. I feel like because I've been standing
don't
Cupid for
remember it.
weeks now. I'm a big Cupid fan.
We need Cupid in this house.
What I stand him last phase when Pandacat pulled him out against Sanguine.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, I love the Cupid. I think Cupid's the most underrated hunter in the entire game. And this is coming from a guy who doesn't play ADC. I just like Cupid.
All right, moving on to SSG versus PK. And SSG sort of pick up where they left off from the end of phase 1, and they take down PK. I was watching Zap's stream recently. He says that PK just seemed to have a hard time against SSG. What are your thoughts on this? And, this is another set where Cthulhu really just wasn't effective from the support role.
I think, I don't know. I felt like PK played uncharacteristically not as good as they usually do. Although maybe it's just me having the winner's bias from them winning Worlds. I feel like they should be doing a lot better, but they seem a little disjointed. Their picks and bans aren't perfect. They're not bad, but they're not great either. And they're kind of just, like we talked about last week, they're a little bit slower to adapt to this new meta, whatever is happening here. And we saw another instance of the Cthulhu going over to the support, and just a little bit slower on some of these guys just transitioning those gods out of there, picking up new things, trying new things that, haven't been confirmed to be bad. I don't know. I feel like if you get destroyed, or not really get destroyed, they didn't get totally smoked in the first game, but when you see that Neil is clearly struggling on the Cthulhu in game 1, don't go back to it. It's not that good in support. If you're going to prioritize it, then throw it in solo. But maybe it was just that, they didn't want to. I mean, the meme across the planet is Scary D God Pool of 3, and maybe he just wasn't ready to pick it up. But I don't know. I think that at that point, I don't know. I'd be playing it. I think that it's still a very good solo option. But Scary D didn't stand out on what he picked either. So kind of just in the middle there. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good.
Yeah, I'm a big time PK fan. It was tough to watch that set, right? Like, I mean, they kind of came out. They seemed a little flat. I think it was one of those cases where, like, sometimes you have these games that you watch where you're like, man, like Ghost just played out of their brain. Like, they just executed flawlessly, and they just stomped the other team, right? Like, you come out and you say things like that, and then there's the other half of the equation where you come out and you're like, man, like these guys that we know are great players did not play as well as they can. And that was what I saw in SSG versus PK. I think they are capable of way more. I think Paul in the Morrigan was a mistake. I know Zap likes Morrigan. I know Zap is comfortable just sitting in lane and farming to late game with her.
Sure.
So if you're gonna pick that strat, I would rather like put Paul in one of his comfort picks or like an Uller or something like that. But like, I don't know, man. It just seemed like it almost seemed like they were trying stuff out for their first set, and it just didn't work. And I think after the first game, it seemed like they were a little flat or just waking up, and they held on a little longer in the second game, but still wasn't the showing that I expected out of them.
Sure.
You know what really surprised me? I think that the fact that PK didn't prioritize Freya for Paul is kind of nuts, because historically he loves that character. He has those couple of like niche characters that he consistently goes back to, and then suddenly they end up in meta, and where do they go? They just disappear. I don't know, man. I think that if they had prioritized the Freya pick for him, that was a totally different set.
Let's talk about Freya a little bit. Do you think Freya is viable in the mid lane, or is she just safer in the duo lane right now?
Safer in mid. You got less distance to get back to your tower.
Okay.
I think our clear is probably pretty bad. You're going to get invaded, at least for the first couple of levels. But I mean, it's just, and this all goes away tomorrow, right, with the bonus balance change. But the second you get Hecate online, like, it's over. Like, you power clear everything. You full clear the wave in like 3 or 4 autos. And you just run down whoever you're going against. You can't fight anybody in the jungle. Nobody in the jungle can fight you, because you just turn on them, you Hecate them, and you lifesteal yourself back to full health.
What is the
I think you would.
what is the nerf that's coming to Hecate right in the bonus?
Oh, they're taking the bonus healing off of it.
Okay, that you get from hitting gods.
Yeah, so it's basically Ichabal now. for the
I
most
see.
part.
But there's
Ichabal
some
with
lifesteal.
lifesteal.
Yeah.
It still has the lifesteal. It doesn't have the bonus healing.
I'm pissed.
It'll still be pretty good. But honestly, if anyone's gonna play Freya in mid, it's gonna be Paul because he has that, knowledge of how that matchup works. Whereas I can see, a lot of other mid laners might not know how to handle that without a little bit of practice to be able to really comprehend like how much pressure exactly am I losing? What do when do I need to have my abilities up to bolster my auto attacks and that kind of thing. If you don't know those timings, it can be really, really difficult to throw yourself into that matchup without having, your toes dipped in the water first to really understand, how that feels. And I know for a lot of players, it can come down to the numbers, but with that one, I think it's very much a feel thing, where if you feel like you know what's going on there, then you're set, and if you don't, then you don't play it.
Frost, thoughts on Freya or SSG versus PK?
Thing about Freya is you have to dive her twice. So while she is safe in the mid lane, once you dive her that first time, she has no option but to concede the pressure. While she's in the dual lane, you're a lot less likely to actually be there applying that pressure consistently. To where if you do lose pressure one time because they dove you, by the time they come around for you the second time, you probably have ult up again. I don't think she's as safe as she used to be. I think the meta has just gone a bit too aggressive to the point where a mage that can actually always fight you and not be so reliant on the ultimate would be able to exist in the mid, even if it is Paul. And speaking of which, he finally lost on the hell.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
All this, and oh my goodness, I don't know if it's because of the meta. I'm just here like, Paul, talk to me. What happened? It was the Cthulhu support, wasn't it? I know it was. That doesn't even seem like a standout pick for Neilma. Like, why are they so adamant at putting Cthulhu in support with those items, with that playstyle? He just doesn't fit there. Even if you are going to play there, it's not Zap should be very aware that he's not going to get any peel. I think it was in the Ratatoskr game, where Ratatoskr, Neilma would go in the air and Zap dies on the ground because they dive him and then they all just leave. They're literally going to fight around you because you don't actually have that much damage, not nearly enough peel, and you're just there. He's just
Cthulhu
a big.
doesn't really seem like a Raffer god, and I don't know, maybe they were just afraid of Nika being very good on Cthulhu in the solo lane and they had to pick it away. I don't know, it seems like they really trusted Neil to play it well, and it's just not a god in support, as you recently pointed out in your video. You mentioned the rat support from Raffer. I know this is a Captain Jean-Luc Picard special here, if you've seen him streaming on
Yeah,
stuff.
I've run into it a few times. Jesus
you think
Christ.
there is room for more assassins in the support role? I personally love assassins in the support role. Actually play a Deja, okay? So what do you guys think about the rat support, and do you think we're going to see more assassins in support?
Absolutely in this meta. There's no better appeal for your team than being rid of an entire character.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best supporting you can do. Go up in the air and cause the death of one of the backliners. And Rat, very capable. You got Serket already being there. Naja was more of a setup character, but we've got Thors. We've still got who else we got there? If only we could
Fenrir?
have the Kelly support. Fenrir, extremely so, is an odd combination, but the items that we're getting now are kind of hot. They're really allowing more aggressive and not too tanky characters before output enough damage to actually take the damage that's being inflicted on them while bringing it back in there. I don't know. I think it's very aggro right now, but I don't think it washes out Guardians either. I'd suspect Raffer's also gonna put on the brakes as this phase keeps going.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can see support starting to ditch the very defensive style that we ended up in the end of the last split, like with the Ganesh's and the Kepris and things, and going more towards this super aggro style. And Of course, it really depends what you're going to be up against, and it's going to change a lot with Mage ADC slowly getting flushed out a little bit. But, if they're still here, I can definitely see an argument for there being a lot of these assassins over in the support lane, because when you're a magical ADC up against that provides so much pressure for the other side, and dealing with that as a character that doesn't come online until they get an item or two is really, really difficult. And by that point, in the SPL, it's a little easier to deal with it because the guys are very disciplined and knowing exactly where they can and can't be, what farm they can and can't give up, and things of that nature. So it'll be a little bit different when it comes to, what we're seeing in the ranked meta versus the SPL meta. But I could easily see these guys coming up and actually doing work in the SPL.
All right. Any final thoughts on PK versus SSG?
I hate when assassin supports are in the meta because then they start nerfing assassins, and that makes me cry.
I hope they don't get too
Cries
heavy
and
handed with
jungler.
them. Yeah, I hope they don't go crazy on it.
The benefit with Rat is that it's intentional, right? They literally gave him 2 acorns and said, you're going to have sustain and then you're going to have prots, right? So it's intentional to give them that flexibility. We saw with like Neja, Fenrir, Circuit, where it was a product of their kits.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we'll see it more with Rat, but I hope it doesn't lead to sweeping assassin changes like the last 3 have.
Just a lot more versatility this patch. I don't know what happened. Aside from the obvious experimenting, I'm thinking we're going to get somebody on some mage supports. I want a hunter support so bad. I feel like I'm on the cusp right there of finding some hunter support technology. And if anybody's going to do it, it's probably, my bet would be on Neilma. He loves his hunter supports.
Hachibad.
That's hard.
I refuse. It's not happening.
All right. Well, speaking
I like
of
the
Neilma,
genetics on her support.
sure.
I'll take that all day. I actually think that one makes sense.
But
Speaking
the new Berserkers just synergizes so well with it.
Yeah.
All right, Sanguine versus Renegades. And Sanguine, the first team that really made Cthulhu look good and playing it in solo with Yarkor, and they even got it in the last pick in Game 2. What are your thoughts on Cthulhu solo and Sanguine looking forward into this phase after this game?
I like Cthulhu solo more, but I wasn't a fan of the build on this one. He went more tanky, very healthy mitigations, and but I think it fit well into Sanguine style. I think Sanguine actually plays around a Cthulhu comp the best out of any team because they just stick so well together. You have to play kind of tight, kind of close on a Cthulhu. I just wasn't a big fan of the build, but it worked out. And that level of teamwork with that kind of character against the Renegades, you put 2-0 on them.
Yeah.
Did they? I didn't actually get to see these games. Did they just? Did the Renegades just puke a lead both games? They were up 15K. Oh no! Oh, okay, never mind. They switched around first and second one. Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like Renegades were up 15K and they blew 17K. They blew it
In Game 2?
Game 1, unless the stat sheet on Smite Pro League is wrong, which is highly possible. But Sanguine almost 80K gold. Renegades 97.
Oh, yeah. I think that seems correct. Where they were getting some kills and things like that early on in the game. But then the team fights started coming through in the mid and late game. And Sanguine was winning the team fights and used that to win the game.
I don't know, man.
I mean, Metroid got Freya Game 1, which kind of speaks for itself. So Freya being great with Hecate right now, I think, led them to take down Game 1, especially as it went towards the late game.
Man, I just hate Nemesis. I hate Nemesis so much. I wish she wasn't getting played. I don't understand it. Please educate me. Why?
Finally buffed her till she was relevant.
I don't know.
Like her design.
She's just an ult bot. That's literally it.
Well, now with Golden Blade, she can auto attack you too.
Oh, congrats! You can auto attack again. Wow. And then people are building her with like malice and stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, but like if you get in there, you auto attack, and then you get CC'd, then you're just dead, and that's kind of it. I don't know,
Surprisingly,
man.
both the Nemesi, I don't know what the plural is.
I'm here for it.
Neither
Yeah,
of
this is
them,
good.
neither of them built Golden Blade. Neither Panatom nor Lazra. So
Wait, what? Oh, that's for this set. Okay, I
Yeah,
remember
just for this
Sam. Yeah, I remember Sam going Golden Blade.
I don't know. There might have been some last item changes or something like that. Because in the late game, I
There's no
imagine
way
Golden
they didn't
Blade
build Golden Blade.
is pretty bad.
Renegades confuse me, my friends. Okay,
Yeah.
they're in the SPL, and here's what I'm getting. This is from a casual onlooker. Maybe I'm a bit more obsessed than most. It feels like there's a sense of, okay, we tried this stuff and ranked. Let's let it rip here.
Mhm.
And also, this is what everyone says is hot. We're going to go completely against it just because we can. Awesome Jake is known for having these unorthodox supports. And in a meta where they thrive, a man goes Fafnir. And his Hercules look so cold. I don't get it. If anyone should be thriving in this meta, it should be these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate the Fafnir. Fafnir does scale, honestly, a little bit better than I think. What did they have? They had Horus. I think Fafnir definitely does better than the Horus when it comes to like the comp and stuff that they had been going for. But in general, I just didn't like the comp. I didn't like the playstyle that they went for. And like you said, I think if you're putting Awesome Jake on Fafnir, you're losing out a lot on that wild card aspect to him, where you can put him on so many other things and, you know, play to that kind of style. But they're kind of like, okay, you know, let's sit back and let's play our little double hunter comp. And then we have a nemesis who's going crit, so then whatever. But I don't know. I think they need to play more of that aggressive, in your face, throw Jake on whatever he wants style, because they are just playing too passively for my liking. And by the time they get to the team fights, they just get outplayed mechanically because Sanguine is better at team fighting.
Especially with the Soul. I really wish Jake would pull out the Osiris support again.
Okay, maybe too far.
The Souls. I know Barra loves Soul, or he wants her to be good again. I'm not sure. Just
I think Soul is good right now until these Hekate nerfs come through. Soul has been looking pretty good.
even with those, I don't like her too much. It's just an odd kit. It doesn't flow well as far as like mage ADCs go. For as long as I've been in the duo lane, at least. Release Soul, I think we're riding on nostalgia. Every patch, any minor change. I don't care if you change, like, you know, Bumba's got taken out. Is Soul okay now? Like, I think it's just trying to will that character back into play. I don't like her. Barra is Barra. I think he's one of the best ADCs, and he did great with her, but I think that's just from his virtue.
Sure. All right, any final thoughts on Sanguine versus Renegades, the whole set?
Mulan support. Didn't do too hot in the beginning, but I do like the idea. Just a little bit better on the execution next time.
Sure.
Yeah,
Nathan?
it's definitely there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a big Renegades guy. I said that they'd be the surprise of the weekend, and I think they did okay later on, but I don't know, man. I think they tried some stuff, they got close, and it didn't happen.
Sure.
That
Not this
Mulan
time.
support, though. Wow. I think that's if you are going to have a Cthulhu in support, it's that style of, yeah, sure, I could peel like one or two things for you, but I'm going for their backline. I'm leaving you alone. This is for you.
That was
Pick a-
really
pick a
uncharacteristic
better
of
hunter
Ron,
next time.
too, because Ron's like a Yamoja Horus player and like really insistent on being there to save Netroid 24/7. And like, I'm here for it, but like, also this other side of Ron where he gets to be hyper aggressive and plays this interesting pick. I want to see more of that. I think it's definitely very potent for them, especially as a team. I think they can really flow into making Ron their new carry, quote
I
unquote.
told you. I ran into him. I told you, in duel, playing his Mulan. He is gross. Izanami's grosser, but he is gross.
All right, moving on to the only 3-game set this weekend. with Ghost versus E United in a crazy, crazy game one. Epic comeback from E United, spurred on, I think, by Scream getting a lot of kills, and maybe Hurrywind as well in game one. What do you guys think about game one? And is E United looking good, or maybe it was just a little bit of luck on the Titan defense?
This team is the Scream Carry Project. That's it. It's the Scream Carry Project. There's no single way they would have been able to come back from that game if Scream was not on United.
Was that through Scream's virtue, or was that through Twig's misplay?
I mean, yes, Twig definitely misplayed it. That was a lot on him. But the fact of the matter is that Scream just positioned super well in this game. He was able to pop up and at least like claw back into this game for them. And, you know, it wasn't necessarily by virtue of anyone else that they got there necessarily, but, you know, it definitely was a misplay on the part of Ghost. But I mean, Scream made it possible to even happen to begin with.
Yeah, I think he's getting his fire back, and I'm really excited because there are some periods where he kind of goes cold, but when he's on fire, it is a scary thing to behold. And you couple the Scream Carry Project with Hurrywind, who's got like some of the hottest. No, I'm gonna get your Titan instead in the SPL. I think he's done it like 3 or 4 times now.
Consistent.
Yeah, I think Scream is the Sino with a better team around him. Because that's what we said about Obey when he joined last split, right? It's Sino's world, and we're all just living in it.
Sure.
Whether or not he could carry the rest of the team, and that's kind of the way I feel about United right now. It seems like it is them winning and losing is completely dependent on whether or not he plays out of his brain. I know that's not the way it actually is, but it's certainly the way it feels to like the casual onlooker. But no, that game one was insane. I didn't get to see game 2 and 3 because I had to leave. But
well, let me tell you about game 2 and 3. Ghost looked like Ghost, and it was pretty convincing win from them for the other next 2 games. So
yeah,
you know, they got a Cthulhu solo, I believe, in game 2. For fine, okay. Also, Mulan
they had
in the
it,
jungle.
They had it in the first one too. Oh
Mulan
God!
experimentation is coming, brewing up in the SPL here, which is good. I mean, Sam played very well on it, 7-3 and 13, with an interesting build with Soul Eater, taking advantage of the healing that Mulan has in her kit. It was a pretty interesting game. What do you guys think about Mulan in the jungle?
It's okay.
I wasn't about it.
It's just okay.
I wasn't about it, but it does have that early pressure that they didn't respect. I don't know if Sam would have steamrolled his way the way he did if they had just paid it a little bit of respect. We all know her strength is she's going to bully you. If you walk up to her, she's going to drop the entire nuke on you.
Mm-hmm.
And then her weakness is she doesn't have the best mobility.
Yeah.
I take it back. I did see game 3. That was the Fine OK Thor game. I remember that. And he absolutely popped off on that one. I think the first game, Ghost also was kind of still gassed up from the games that they had with Obey. You can definitely see when Twig's kind of feeling himself or when Fine's kind of feeling a little too strong, especially I can imagine on a Cthulhu. You just soloed the ADC and the mid laner. You're probably on a high.
Yeah, I mean, just taking a look at some of these builds, I really like the ideas that Scream is going for in his build with the Jotuns and the Sledge and the Glad Shield. I think that, that's a very potent kind of throwing it back to whenever jungler was getting Void Shield kind of build. But this one, I don't know, I feel like the facilitator junglers are not necessarily out of it. I think Serket, like Naja too, those guys can certainly be meta, but it's going to have to be with this build, and it's going to have to involve having a hard carry somewhere else. And with magical ADCs, it can happen. Just maybe not with Soul. I think Soul is definitely the factual worst one out of the 4 magical ADCs in the game. So, probably not that character. And that's kind of just up to Guy J's willingness to be able to play other things. Because I've seen him play the Soul before, and it was okay. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad. And that tends to just line up with all of his other performances too. So, I mean, it really is just going to be I think, growing pains with this team. If Scream needs to kind of sit back in that hard carry role, or if he can sit in this facilitator one that he seems to really like.
4 magical ADCs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Polar and Chronos Soul Freya.
Okay, so we're missing Poseidon there.
Ah,
And we're missing Zhang Gui.
Wait, no.
I would
One step too
sooner.
far.
This
No,
is a
no.
little hyperbolic, but I would sooner put Zhang Gui ADC with his goddamn Hecate. Yo, just keep the 3 up all the time. It's got double the attack speed of everybody.
I hate it.
It's
No.
so stupid. It shouldn't work, but it does for some odd reason. But even then, I would honestly go back to the days of Poseidon ADC Season 2 before I would pull out a Soul.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that.
Raythan, I remember you waxing poetic about Mail of Renewal last week. And in Game 1, we saw 2 Mail of Renewals on Ghost Gaming with both Mike on the Capri and Fino K on the Cthulhu with the Mail of Renewal. Is this the new tech?
This is an I told you so moment.
Even in Game 2,
it's good.
I'm looking at this in Game 2 as well. Mail of Renewal on Horus for Mike too. So
Yep, and if you watch the end of Game 3, I think when they were sieging Mid Phoenix, Fino K has like 60% HP, and then someone dies on the enemy team. I think maybe even 50. He's in his ult with like 5,000 HP.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody dies on the enemy team. 3 seconds later, he's at like 75, and then I think between HP 5 and a heal or anything else. From Umoja, he goes from basically half health to full off of 2 mil renewal procs and a heal.
He must have sold it before the end game because it's not in the final items here. But
did he not? No, he 100% had it.
Not in Game 3, it doesn't look like, but in Game 1 and 2, he.
No, not on the Thor, not on the Thor. It was his Cthulhu games.
Yeah,
he had it on both of his Cthulhu games. Okay, so it was probably the second game then.
Sure.
They were. Or no. Or was it they were sieging the Titan? I don't remember. These games all blend together for me. But I just distinctly remember they were sieging the Mid Phoenix, and Fine had no HP, and then all of a sudden he had all of the HP, and I was like, I also think it's just a misplay to not have anti-heal into that.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't affect HP 5.
It does affect the passive.
Oh, what?
Yeah, the passive healing. It's like 50%.
It counts as a heal, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's an ability heal, but it basically you get
Regenerates
15% of your max HP back over 3 seconds. So 5% heal every 3 seconds every time you take an objective. Right? So if you kill somebody when you're sieging a tower and then 3 seconds later you take the tower, you get 30% HP back.
Oof.
That is a lot of damn health.
That's a lot of health.
No, the item's nuts. I think there was a lot of criticism in Game 2, and I think Game 3 of United for their lack of anti-heal, and I completely agree with that. You've got Mulan has crazy sustain, Horus is crazy sustain, Cthulhu is crazy sustain for the team, plus sustain items built. And then you have Twig, who's on the Persephone, who can heal himself, and Soul Gem, the whole team. The lack of anti-heal, Game 2, and then Game 3. Yeah, also no anti-heal. Also, Persephone, Umoja, I guess not as impactful that game, but kind of like drove me a little nuts. Game 2 was anti-heal related, I think. Game 3 was no, the item's good. Long story short, I called it. 2 of them came out.
Yeah,
I was
that's
right.
what I'm saying, man. This is where you get all the inside strats, okay? So, Mail of Renewal.
There it is, man.
Officially SPL, what's it called?
Approved.
Endorsed, approved, yeah.
I'm not going to call myself a meta crafter, but
The broken clock is right twice a day.
hey, my one claim to fame
Sure.
from that perspective is back at the beginning of last year, was it?
Mm-hmm.
I said that Erlang was broken in the jungle, like busted, broken in the jungle. And Kurt, weakened, retired Shrey, was at my house, standing over my shoulder while I was telling people this, leaned over and said, "Don't listen to him. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about." And then, like 2 weeks later, that god was at the top of the meta, like nerfs incoming, slapping everyone in ranked. And I was like, My work here is done. So, as Frost has said, if I make enough guesses, I'll eventually be right.
Honestly, yeah. There you go. No, he was busted for the longest time. Some characters in this game I stay away from. It comes from a feeling of like, all right, they're a little busted, or this is too easy kind of thing. Or
Yeah.
like I never even played them. Just watching people play in support, in jungle, just in solo. Those were the three that he dominated. Hell, I saw a few Erlang ADCs with the same build. He was abusive.
I will say I am an Erlang abuser. Whatever Erlang is good.
Oh
I
my
love
God.
Erlang. So, any
I
final
said Pele
thoughts?
too, but because they've nerfed the shit out of everything else to the
Sure.
point where she's the only thing that's left that's good.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Ghost versus United?
I believe like I said, they dropped the ball on the first one. It could have been cleaner. I think it was a bit humbling for the team, and that's going to help them going into the next few games. Can't just be stomping all the time. I think it was Obey where Twig did the diving past tier 2 and then go sit by the Phoenix. I'm going to back, and if you come near me, I'm going to kill myself play. Yeah, he was definitely gassed up. Twig has no respect for boundaries whatsoever. That was his biggest issue in phase 1. Now he's kind of riding on it.
All right. Last set of the week. Renegades versus Obey. Renegades win after not performing as great earlier on in the weekend. Set jungle from Lazra looked really great. Lazra, even on Nemesis, looked really great. What are your thoughts here? This is the first time we saw Wowie back for Obey. First thoughts on RNG versus Obey?
Looked like a ranked match, honestly, especially that duo lane. Like, it looks like you popped in a Barra stream and it's him and Jake versus Snoopy and Guy J.
I mean, he pulled out something aggressive. He brought out the tier.
Yeah, he did. And it actually worked out this time. That's what was amazing this time around. Like, yes, this is the Jake that we can't stop talking about. You play the weird stuff and you get in people's faces. You first blood their Athena and then your ADC dies, but it's okay.
I don't know, man. Just looking at Obey's style of drafting, I just don't get it. I don't know where any of these picks are coming from. I don't know the Osiris thought process is, okay, protection suck, mitigations are what's up, but like in the jungle with Golden Blade?
I don't know.
No.
I'm looking at these builds. It's like Golden Blade into Sovereignty, into Odys, into Spectral. I don't know if that's the build on Osiris in the jungle. I'm not sure you're doing anything really impactful at all.
I don't know what this Athena pick is doing. Poseidon's like, okay, Medusa's a little better now, and I guess Camazotz is fine, but like, there's so many other characters. There's so many other characters. That's the emphasis that I have to put this on, that where do you get these ideas to pick these ones up? I feel like they really want to be the meta setters, but it's like they're just going in the wrong direction here. I don't know what's happening from an inside perspective. I can't say, but I mean, clearly they know what's good. They banned Afro Olaron Nemesis, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, I don't know. It just really surprises me that these guys would not go in the direction where you think that they would normally go. I don't know who is hard stuck in this thought process of some of these guys, but I don't know. Something has to change here because this is just straight up not good.
Well, I think it was after this set that Saito tweeted out, "No more warriors in the jungle." He's exclusively
I hope he means it too.
Assassins.
He also said that at the end of the last phase, so
I
gotta get back on my Neja bullshit.
I really hope he does.
Please.
Frost and I had a conversation about this on Twitter. I mean, this is one of those things where it's like you come out strong and you do something that's weird and it doesn't work, and then you go, ooh, all right, maybe we should do all the stuff that everybody else is doing because somebody is clearly doing the research on what works. I don't know if there's some funny stuff in the paella that Kazir is eating over in Spain, but I love all of those guys. I love all those guys. I mean, I know everybody on both teams except for like Sino and Jake. Like, I don't know either one of them well. Mm-hmm. And I love them all. I love Laz. Laz, I think, is like one of the most talented players in the entire league. I think he's highly underrated. And I love the whole Obey squad. They come over for dinner. But I just don't even Like I want them to be good so bad because I know they can. I know they can. And I feel like sometimes they're held back by meta setting where they try and do these like big brain counter pick things, or like they try and force a strat that just like doesn't make any sense, and it ends up costing them. And I want to see them do well. And I think that's the most frustrating part.
I think, like you said earlier, we want to understand. We want to know what's going on inside your head with these drafts. But clearly, there's something between what you guys are thinking and what we're seeing that just isn't connecting here. And the results show for themselves. And this stuff is just not working, and there needs to be a change.
I'm telling you, it feels like 2 steps of brilliance. Because if we look at their comps, at least, well, the way that they're... okay, here we go. Gonna try to make sense of the madness. Game 1, Osiris, Athena, Medusa, Camazotz, Poseidon. It's a really good team comp against an auto attack heavy team. But I'm talking like you've got 3-4 of your characters are auto attackers. Except on the other team, it was just the set, kinda, and the soul. That's it. I almost feel like Obey was anticipating what we're seeing in ranked, like the spiders, super abusive, Bakasura, Golden Bow, the auto attack junglers are insane right now. But that's not what happened. If you take that comp into what they think they were going to face off against, they would have wiped the floor with it. Okay. That's not what happened. That's not the reality of it. And that's what confuses me. I know Sino has touted off that like warriors are the big counter to AA. To auto attackers. They're the big counter, and I can see the logic behind that, but they're not facing off against AA. So where's the logic there?
Especially when they first picked the Osiris both games.
Yeah. Well,
right? Like you're almost saying yeah, well, like why not let them pick the Baka? Why not let them pick whatever?
Exactly.
Osiris is saying, hey, pick at all.
Because the second that you pick Osiris first, knowing what you know about Sino and the way he likes to play, the fact that Ducky can play him too, is you have to go, this could be a Sino pick here. So we're not going to pick the auto attack characters. If that really is true, that's what shuts them down, right? So let's play something else. And Lasber does and absolutely mops them apart. I mean, I think he was like 18-1 and 14 in the set. I mean, he just destroyed them. I mean, I know Nem's an auto attacker, but kind of not really, right? It's more of an auto canceller.
I'm wondering if maybe they were doing a little too much homework, Obey that is, and they expected Veneno to pull out the Cupid again, which he played both games versus Sanguine earlier on in the weekend. And he last picked Cupid in one of the games. Maybe they just expected Cupid. And that's why they were just first picking Osiris, on top of Sino being very comfortable and liking warriors in the jungle.
Even then, you need like a neutral first pick if you're setting up for a counter. If you give away your counter pick to begin with, you're setting yourself up for failure.
I'm totally postulating here, and I don't. And it's always so tough to comment. Like when you, I'm not like trying to flaunt that I know these guys, but it's really tough to comment when you know these people because like words can hurt. But like I kind of feel like it was. Sino came with a game plan of this is what I'm picking, and you all need to deal with it, right? Or we're going to build a draft around that. And then it was, Ducky, you got to figure out what you've got in your tank that fits into that.
Sure.
And then Bobby, what can you even play? Question mark, right? Like straight up, like really, like we have seen no God pool diversity on Bobby that's anything to write home about. Bobby, and I love Bobby because I love his energy and enthusiasm. I think that team specifically needs somebody like Bobby, just from a character and a personality perspective. But we haven't seen Bobby look good on anything. We've seen him look bad or worse on his God picks, right? And I mean that as, like, again.
His FAF's great. I really like his FAF.
I think, Assassin's coming back. Maybe he was pretty good on Serket last year. So maybe he pulls out the Serket again.
Oh, okay. He also, would get caught out constantly. He got first blooded a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like even on the Fafter, I think the reason he played well on the Fafter is because he would get himself into these situations and have 2 leaps to get himself out, right?
Yeah, he's got a great Fafnir, but that's also Fafnir's great.
Fafnir is like the best god if you have some mechanics, but your game awareness needs work, right? Like I tell my brother, he's like new to playing on PC. He knows the game. I'm like, play Fafnir, play Xing Chen, right? They've got leaps. They get you out of trouble when you screw up, right? Can you hit your hammer? Great. I'm like, Nick, just play the god, hit your hammers. And if you get in trouble, leap away or alt and leap away. Like that's it. Yeah. And a lot of times we saw him pick Fafnir. It wasn't because, and I legitimately think it was for the safety issue. It also allowed him to play more aggressively and make those mistakes without getting punished too hard. But it wasn't like, hey, we've got a comp that's built around Fafnir's too, or we've got a comp that's built around the aggression or the zone control of the Fafnir when he ults or anything like that, right? It was straight up, Bobby is going to die if we don't put him on something that's going to leave. I mean, I'm not trying to. Always sounds like I'm trying to BM him, right? But I'm not. And I again, love these guys to death. And I want them to do well, like so bad. But I think that's it, right? We've not seen anybody pull out an Athena ever for any reason. I mean, she's getting some buffs here in a couple of weeks, but we've seen Bobby on like 3 gods. It's like Ymir, Fafnir, and Athena. And I think did he play anything else last split? I
think he played Kuzumbo a couple times.
I vaguely recall that.
I don't recall actually.
I recall him getting body blocked on a Kuzumbo. IPK.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
It might have been.
That sounds right. I don't know.
He might have been on Yamoja. He's played some Yamoja.
I thought it was Yamoja.
That was Aurora.
Maybe it was.
That was Aurora who got body blocked.
Oh, no, it was Aurora. It was Aurora. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was like, it was in the Alpha Harpy, and he was Kuzumbo, and he got body blocked. That
sounds vaguely familiar.
That does. Oh, yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about.
So he's at least, at least he's played the Kuzumbo, but.
He did play Yamoja because he had like that 80% CDR Yamoja.
Yeah, that's right.
He got a little flavor for that too. We wish you the best, Bobby. We're not just BMing you here.
I'm a big Bobby fan.
We want you to do well.
Yeah, it's all love.
I love you. Please come over and hang out and pet my dog and don't hate me.
But the gears are cranking, is what I'm telling you. Athena in AA meta is super hot. Mm-hmm. You got the block stacks. You got those 3 right there. You got the new Nemean, that's another 2. You got the shell, another 2. You got 7 of them. I understand the entire thought process of it to the point where I went in, played the game, trying to see just how it felt. It feels so bad. I don't know if Bobby got beyond in theory, this is pretty hot. I don't know if he just whipped it out during that. I don't know if he tested it before that. I think if he had just tested it a little more, he would have seen, you know what, this is kind of trash. I don't know what kind of power creep we're on. But Athena, even though she used to run the game, does not feel good right now, like at all.
I think you missed out on the Celestial Legion helm stacks. That was what was holding you back.
The only thing I can think of is that he was trying to do something like play into this like Poseidon Medusa, like just double alt, just right explosion damage. But if that's really what he was going for, I would have liked to seen a blink out of him, right? Because that's where you play off that character when you want to run like a Medusa Poseidon strat. Is you blink in, you hit the taunt, you grab 3 people, probably 2 frontliners, and you just blow them up, and you hope.
You hope they die.
But I mean, if you're relying on that Athena dash, and again, here we are again. He's got to use it to go aggressively. And he's got nothing to get himself out. Goes 0-5. And gets ruined. So again, but I'm an armchair. I'm an armchair. SPL player. So I don't know what they were thinking, but that's the only other thing I could think of is that he was there to set up for this Poseidon Medusa, which I mean, again, like Frost said, in theory makes sense.
Well, when we get Bobby on and I get to interview him, we'll ask him about the Athena. How's that?
It was dash 2-3 ult out instantly. That was the play.
I'm gonna make sure I'm not around for those questions. You're gonna air this, and I'm gonna have him knocking on my door at like 2 a.m. like, right? What you say about my god pool?
He's probably gonna have to watch the extended cut to get the deep hot takes.
Exactly. I was gonna say he's gonna have to go into YouTube. I'm not putting any more Godpool insults on Twitter. Learn my lesson on that one.
What you need to do is stick to them.
Yeah.
Stick to them until you are actually not until you feel bad. I think that's the issue is you pulled off because you felt bad. Stick to it until you're proven wrong, or maybe you are right in the end, but not because you feel bad.
I did it because I felt bad.
Yeah, there we go. No, there's a certain confidence you have to have for your theories, and also some grace for okay, I'll back off, but not because I feel bad. I will go. You guys proved this week. Those of you who did not first pick or ban Cthulhu, you proved that you are fearless. Next week, prove that you're not stupid.
Same thing with Freya. Frost and I were talking about it. She had a 100% pick, ban, and win rate.
That character's design is just problematic. Since the start.
All right, that's our show. Be sure to catch the SPL Rundown every week on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll be having guest analysts in the future, so if there's any guest in the Smite scene that you want to see, be sure to DM me on Twitter at APAM2 or at APAM Productions. Finally, check out last week's episode featuring Aurora, and check out extended cuts on the APAM Productions YouTube page. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next week.